Well, Johannesburg is, of course, where the money is. It's the most powerful commercial center on the African continent. Rising crime in the early 1990s saw big business flee from the central city. Companies relocated their offices to the suburbs, and the area, the CBD, became somewhat of a ghost town after dark, making Johannesburg an international case study in urban decay. But in recent years, South Africa's largest city has been undergoing a rebirth, a rejuvenation, or as the experts call it, the gentrification of the inner city. Joining us live from downtown Johannesburg this evening is Moneyline's Jody Jacobs to talk about urban renewal and gentrification. And Jody, I'm sure you're going to get a definition of gentrification for us as well.
Well, exactly that, Siki. Good evening to you and to the Moneyline viewers. Yes, a newspaper article once quoted to say that gentrification has become the shorthand for an urban neighborhood where the muggings are down and the espresso is roasted. However one might feel about this situation, it is something that is becoming a reality, not only in Johannesburg, but across the country in many of the different sectors. Now, the term gentrification or inner city rejuvenation was coined way back in 1964 by sociologist Ruth Glass to describe the processes by which the poor were pushed out of many parts of the United Kingdom as wealthy neighborhoods were created. And to discuss this further this evening, Siki, we are joined by Yusuf Patel from the South African Planning Institute to unravel this thing that they call regentrification, or the gentrification of a city or inner city development. And Yusuf joins us live tonight from the Maboneng precinct, which is one of these nodes in the inner city of Johannesburg, where we've seen a lot of influx of investment and people moving back to the city. Yusuf, good evening and welcome to eNCA Moneyline. Let's first of all start. What is gentrification or inner city development?
Well, thank you, Jody. I think this is an important topic because it fits in within the broader issue that we're facing as a country in terms of the issue of inequality. And I think this is just beginning to manifest itself within the urban and city spaces, where you're starting to see contestation between different income groups and the interests of different income groups. But essentially, you know, as we're developing, and I think there's a lot of exciting things happening in our cities, and we welcome the kind of investment and growth taking place. But what can happen when these areas redevelop is we have a process whereby higher income individuals move into areas, the property prices, etc., move up, and the original residents of these areas, which were previously depressed, the areas were previously neglected, etc., those residents then are either displaced from these areas or evicted, and it causes a lot of pain. So I think as society as a whole, cities in particular, it's a big challenge to see how can we have urban regeneration taking place at the same time managing gentrification or even finding strategies to actually stop gentrification.
What is the solution though? Because in most instances what you do find is that the poor is pushed out and those with money are able to come into nodes like this one.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's no easy solutions, and we all want to see our cities grow and improve, and the quality of our neighborhoods, etc., improve. The challenge really is one of affordable housing in South Africa, and we got to keep in mind that 50% of households in South Africa have incomes below 3,500 rands a month. We've got another 30% odd of households that earn between 3,500 to around 18,000 rands a month, and that's what we normally term the gap market. And the issue is, how do we ensure that as we develop these areas, as we find and encourage investment to come into these areas, we ensure that we maintain access and opportunities for affordable housing, and whilst there's no easy answers, I think cities can do much more in terms of having broader inner city rejuvenation plans. So whereby you can actually begin to have a clearer vision of what you want to do with a particular precinct, have very clear communication with all the role players and stakeholders, and mediate the different interests that are involved. So you have often private investors, developers who have particular interests. You have the residents who are staying there. You have new residents that want to move into these areas, and you need to begin to see how all of these things and issues get balanced. So I think communication is key, having very clear regeneration plans and ensuring that we can mediate these different interests. There are solutions, and this sort of urban regeneration and gentrification issues are universal issues. They've happened in many cities across the world, and they're happening in a lot of the cities in South Africa currently.
But who should be taking the lead here?
I think it's important for cities to lead these processes by having very clear inner city or precinct kind of plans, and within these plans to be able to be very clear about what kind of objectives, etc., need to be achieved, and there need to be very clear strategies to actually stop gentrification. So you've got to encourage investment, you've got to encourage the private sector to come in, you've got to start looking at how we utilize existing public sector policy, resources, grants to adapt to these situations. I think we do have plenty of instruments within government and even within cities. For example, social housing. There's a lot of housing grants, there's urban development grants. How can we combine these sort of grants but make them more adaptable? Because many times these instruments are very inflexible. So if we can make them a bit more adaptable to the new urban and city improvement context, we can perhaps find innovative solutions that can both look at redevelopment, doing it in the right way, improving the quality of our public environment, investing in public spaces, but at the same time ensure that the neighborhoods, the character of these neighborhoods, the historical, the heritage character of many of these neighborhoods, and the residents that have actually lived in these areas for a long time, they may be poorer residents, but they have actually kept these areas going for a long time. So we can't just kind of redevelop and push residents out. We've got to find solutions and accommodate them as much as possible within these precincts.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. We've run out of time, Yusuf. Thank you so much for chatting to us. That was, of course, Yusuf Patel from the South African Planning Institute speaking to us about this issue of urban renewal or gentrification of the inner cities, especially not only here in Johannesburg but across the country.